Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Today we have with us Joan of Angels, and I can hardly wait to talk about that title, but she's a spiritual chiropractor and a cosmic activator. We can get into that too. Her main mission is to help you remember who you truly are so you can unlock your highest potential to support you as you step into your sovereignty, because knowing who you are and why you are here helps aid your spiritual growth. And this is the most important part to me, it also raises the consciousness of all humanity. So welcome to the show, Joan. I'm so excited to have you with us today.
I am so excited to be on your show, Jill Hart, and I think you get to the heart of the matter. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's so good to have you here. So tell us how you became known as Joan of Angels.
That's the best question of all. People think I named myself that. No. So in 2013, in a very difficult period of my life, and I asked my angels for help, I received this message: paint 33 angels in 30 days. Well, I thought that was a little hard for me to accomplish, so I was disappointed. I thought I'd get a check or some great thing, and it was this message. And then suddenly they said it again, 33 angels in 30 days, and I said no again. And then I knew that the third time they said paint 33 angels in 30 days, and you'll know the next step once you complete that. And so I understood that this was going to be my salvation. If I listened to the voice within, my life would change. And that's how the miracle, it was like I had to work for this miracle. And that is the way life is. But so I said yes. And before I knew it, I painted those 33 angels. A book fell off the bookshelf when I hung them all up in the angel portal. Now it's an angel portal. And the book said, the page that opened was, your call for angelic assistance has been heard. And that began and launched me painting, and then more painting. And I closed my eyes, and they told me I was to be a paintbrush for the divine. Humanity needed to see these images. They needed to realize that there's all these, it's just not what you saw in the Bible or in these, old Renaissance paintings, but angels are very individual. They come to us, they want to be seen by us. And we can bring their essence into these paintings, and then you have the energy that they carry with you all the time. So if it's an angel meant to bring peace and balance, and you have that painting, suddenly you're in that energy of peace and balance. So in 2015, they called me to the desert so I could hear. And the second day I was there, I was introduced to this woman named Robin. And she looks at me, she says, we're in a busy cafe. She goes, what did you say your name was? Because she didn't hear it the first time. And I started to say my professional name. And she says, say nothing. And the room went into silence. I heard nothing. The whole restaurant went quiet. And she said, I know who you are. It was like she bellowed this out from the heavens. You're Joan of Angels. And that's how I became Joan of Angels. Now, it took me 7 years to resonate at that frequency, but that's how I was named.
Love that. I love that you were named, and it wasn't like you picked your name.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so
Me
amazing
too.
when that happens.
It would have been too much for my ego to have walk around like having taken such a powerful name.
Mhm.
But then I had always said, I'll know my name, it will be given to me. And then it did manifest that way.
I'll tell you a secret. My guides are named Joan, and they are unicorns.
What was the second thing? Your guides
They
are
are
Joan.
unicorns.
And they're
My guides are
unicorns. I
named
almost put this.
Joan, and they are unicorns. And
I love that. You know what the name Joan means?
mm,
Gift of God, like the unicorns are, and God is gracious. And we both start with the letter J, and numerologically, J's are all about leadership, independence, new ideas. They're visionaries, goal-oriented, ready to leap over tall buildings in a single bound. Those are J's. I'm excited. You have guides named Joan.
I know.
It's not common
really fun.
anymore. Not common.
It is not common, but it's a powerful name. I believe names have power inherently in them, and
Well,
that
Joan of
we step
Angels,
into them.
it took me 7 years to step into being Joan of Angels. It was so profound, so overwhelming. And I didn't really get it till 2020, in the summer of 2020, when I realized, and they told me, well, you were named this, you are Joan of Angels for a purpose. If you don't want to take on that moniker, that whole avatar of being Joan of Angels, that's fine. Someone else will take your place. And I went, oh my God, they're serious. I have to do what I came here to do. And that was the prompting that I needed back in 2020.
And so what do you do? How do you do it? And I know it involves art.
It's so funny. I heard this voice tell you're a jack of or an angel of all trades. Okay, so really what I do is I help people remember who they are and why they're here, what their purpose is, and what skills they came in this lifetime to use, and how to master them. Okay, so that's what I do. How I do it is either through speaking. I love speaking. I'm a public speaker. I do it on workshops. So I do it through speaking, I do it through private sessions, or I do it through art. And the art that I started painting years ago is activated with the energy of magic and miracles. So, and I do activation. So now I'm being told that these are cosmic activations. So I have a component that's very, very interesting. So I just came from a show this weekend showing my art. It's very rare. It's celestial art. And I offer activations if you take home the art. So I'm stepping into a whole new arena. I do soul essence portraits. So some people want to know exactly who they are. And we do these soul essence readings. And then I'm shown visions of who you are. And we then print up a big portrait of you on the other realms, so you can never forget who you are, because that's the biggest thing. We wake up, we have a bad day. Oh God, bad day. And then you're depressed all day, rather than looking at a reflection of you as this star being, or this angel, or this most amazing being. So I suppose my job is to boost up everyone's confidence. I'm a wing fluffer. I actually help people believe in themselves. That's what I do.
And we need that right now. So many people wander around thinking that they're not enough, or believing stories that they've created for themselves around events that happened that nobody else remembers that way, but they're just so attached to, that's not really benefiting them in any way, but
it's
it's
not
making
their
their lives
fault.
miserable.
It's not their fault. We all come in here knowing who we are with a soul contract. It's already known. And, some of us, Hart, your name is Hart. We know you're working for the light. However, there's another agenda that doesn't want us to achieve this mission. Earth is not about living your fullest potential. It's about living your fullest potential despite any of the obstacles that are in your way. So it's all about learning how to overcome the obstacles to become yourself. So I like to say that there's agents of the dark that just don't want you to make it. And they come in the form of parents, difficult childhood, difficult situations, chaotic things, all designed to push you off your path or make you stronger. So for someone like you, it's made you stronger. And that's, you have to be strong during the next period of time, for what's coming. We have to be strong. We have to really let people know who've been lost and confused how they can stay strong and not cave or, be who they are.
Yeah, I think we're all brought here for a reason, and we have a job to do. And so few of us really step into it and say, I'll trust the process. It might be scary because, I'm human. I want to control things.
Right.
Almost never does anything work out the way I think it's going to work out, ever.
I'm always surprised. There's a plan for everything. When I shift into a higher vibration, things manifest for me instantly. I mean, instantly, whether it's good or bad, or, the universe, this energy out here, the field of what they call ether, holds our thoughts. If we are holding positive thoughts, we'll get back the positive connection. If we're not, we'll get back that also. So it's an instant feedback system on where our vibration is.
And it's a constant reminder that we need to keep it higher and not succumb to running the loops that we're all trained to run and don't serve us. And it's this a simple process of taking control of what you're thinking about helps regulate how your body's reacting, because your emotions, your thoughts drive emotions, and emotions actually send signals to the rest of your body to shoot out different chemicals that make you feel different ways. And so if you can take your thoughts captive, as the Bible likes to say, then you can think about things that will benefit humanity, will benefit you, will move us closer to each other in a positive way that can help shape a place that's really nice for all of us to live.
Right. And we just have to step back from our emotions and have a I guess, what is it, a little bit separation, and not look at everything as if we're stuck in the emotional chaos. When I work with clients, I take them to the Joan of Angels Cafe. Joan of Angels Cafe, chai tea cafe, is up in some mountain somewhere. And I just sort of, we work together up there and we look at your life down there as to what it was or is. So much better to have a distance, or look at your life as if it's a film, is another way to do it.
Yeah. And you don't have to be tied to the outcome. I think we as humans tend to we want to control what's going on around us or how it's going on.
Part of the process, Jill, is to, you said something, we're all human, we all live here on the 3D earth plane. We do, but we have a way, many of us learned how to meditate or send our antenna up to the heavens and actually walk around this planet in a fifth dimensional frequency, even though we're in a three-dimensional body. And, that's what alchemy is about. That's also what the ascension process is about, is stepping into that higher fifth dimensional and above energies.
It's nicer there.
Yeah. And it's learning how to manage your life down here on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
To the highest potential, so that you can plant the seeds of what you want. Listen, what most of these people want, and I want, is really, it would take a miracle for the things that I've done. I traveled around the world last year. I was in Egypt. I was in Greece. I was in Glastonbury. I had the most magical year. I had no money to do that, and it manifested. And so the more we know we're magical people, the more we can manifest that. But you can't have your doubts. It's about claiming that energetic here. And that's the lesson. That is the lesson.
Love that. So
Right.
you painted that image that's behind you? The
It's
temple?
digital. So I started off as a three-dimensional painter, like this. And remember, they taught me, I didn't know really how to even paint eyes. But then since I started traveling a year and a half ago, and I left my home in the desert, they said, you got to pack up everything and leave. You're too stuck. And so I went on this world journey. Suddenly I couldn't paint. I couldn't, so I started doing digital. And they channel, and all of it's channeled. So they'll show me what to do. Like there was a tree in Mount Shasta. Everyone's talking about the beings that they see, and all I see is this magnificent tree that looks almost half human. And I took pictures of it, and then before you know it, I can't tell you how I did it, I had in my images beings all around it. And so I started decoding, Mount Shasta, and then from there, the rocks, and now the temple. So I think that it's coming through digitally, and I've had to accept that that's okay. And they're encoded with magic and miracles. So you take home a piece of art by Joan of Angels, this blue temple, and it's coded with the energy of the blue ray. And then I also do activation. So you get the painting home, and we can do an activation to align it with you.
I love that. I love some of the art that's coming out that is AI art. I think it really is channeled art. I use Midjourney, and I've come to create some of the most amazing pieces that just really speak to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they speak to others too. It's just,
I understand.
Such an interesting time right now.
Totally understand. I haven't mastered Midjourney. I'm going to have to go back and try it. But what I have a dear friend who channeled for me, and she said, look, Joan, it doesn't matter. You're the conduit for the AI art, or you're the conduit for digital, or you're the conduit for the paintbrush. It's the word conduit. It's the energy that comes through you to help create it. And the crop circles, I don't know if you've ever seen the crop circles in the UK, but there's many of them, especially in the past, that used to be real, but a whole bunch of them weren't. And they were created by a human hand. And the discussion would come out, well, were these humans told to do that? Was it their thinking, or did someone imprint in them, go out and do that crop circle? Because that's what happens. I get this message, go out and do Arcturians, digitally create them, go out and create the Nubian queen or the Egyptian queen or whatever. And I do. But you have to curate it, because I get thousands of it. I get hundreds of images. And you have to curate.
And they're not all the one.
Right. No, it has to be that one that pops out of all of, how the photographers used to take 100 pictures of someone, or 200, just to get that one, that Marilyn Monroe one, where her skirt goes up, because I lived in Palm Springs, hundreds of photos to get that one.
Yeah.
So.
And they're, yeah. I'm kind of beyond words at the moment. You were going to pull a card. So let's
yeah. Okay. I'm going to ask my guides which deck, because I brought a few. See if it's the one. Oh, see, it's not even a deck I would have used my brain to do. So we're going to do the Sacred Traveler deck. We're going to see what they have to say. I'm also an oracle. I'm known as the Oracle of Ancient Wisdom. So I don't even know where that name came from. Again, it was given to me. Okay, so this is for all of you guys out there, hoping that this is landing with you, some of the things that Jill of the heart, of the beautiful heart, is speaking about, and that we're talking about in this conversation, that it lands. And this is what our guides are saying. And this is to everyone, especially Jill and I. Surrender to the journey. And isn't it release control? You know
Trust
how
the
much
process.
energy they want us to know, that when you're holding on, you say, well, what do I want to leave people with, in a sense? But when you're holding on for dear life. So when you hold on for dear life, nothing flows. There's no flow. You're constipated energetically. And so the art of surrender isn't just, go with the flow. It's about learning how to release your body and learning how to step into that trust. And, it's funny, I said to you, like, so I August of 2022, I left my home, put everything in storage. I'm not a young spring chicken anymore. It took a lot of trust. But prior to that, when I had visions about myself for the year before, I'd see myself clinging onto a rock, like a little crab in the water, and I'd see rushing water, and I was terrified of change, terrified of that transformation. And I spent a whole year, I think, learning how to release and surrender, because we're not meant to hold on for dear life.
Did you ever read that book, The Reluctant Messiah?
No, but I like the title. I think it's probably says it all.
It was written by the guy that wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
Okay.
His name escapes me at the moment, but it's a great book. And the foreword of it, or the intro of it, is written by hand. It's printed. And it talks about this creature that's hanging on. It reminded me of that when you were talking about clinging to the rocks. And then there's this one that's just, the one creature's like, oh, I'm letting go. I'm gonna let go. And they're like, no, you'll get tossed and you'll die for sure. And he lets go, and he finds this whole magnificent new world opens up to him because he just let go.
Right.
Went into the current.
Isn't that interesting? It's true. It's so true. And I think, we're starting into a new year, and we're being asked the demarcation of last year and this year, we're being asked to let go of the past. You can't take your past to heaven with you. You can't take, a wagon full of all of your worries and fears. They weigh you down. And it takes an act of trust to know that you're going to be held, but that is what they're saying. That's what they're asking for. Trust the process. And the answers lie within us. But you have to be still to listen. And once you get that, you'll gain clarity. So you surrender to the journey. Yeah. And take shelter. Know that you're going to be protected. We're in winter. Winter is a period of time where you're allowed to take shelter, where you're allowed to sit by the fire, or, just go inside and ask for answers.
And be able to just sit and listen for the answers, and to look for evidence that you're getting answers, even if it's small things. It's the ability to practice receiving, which is.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So I put all these angels up in the portal. It became an angel portal. And, I had said, well, what am I supposed to do with all this art? And that's when this book falls off the shelf, your call for an angelic assistance has been heard. I said, okay. And then a few days later, it was like, well, to be one of the chosen ones, you must choose. And they said to me that when you say yes, we'll give you more. We're not going to give you the answers you seek until you say yes. So your guides want to know that you're going to say yes. Otherwise, there's, millions of people who want to do what we're doing, or thousands, maybe just a handful, doesn't matter. That if we're not going to say yes, there's someone else who's going to do it. But that's important, because they didn't tell me what to do with the art until I said yes. And then they'd only show me a tiny little bit, because otherwise I would have been the reluctant oracle, the reluctant healer, because when you see it, you could go, no, I can't do that. It's too scary, or I'm not worthy. So we have to, by not letting us know, we don't screw it up.
Yeah. And the universe likes to work in small increments. You know, if you're wanting a whole bunch of money, if you find a penny on the ground, pick it up. It's the universe asking you, are you willing to take this? Are you open to this amount? Well, and then maybe the next thing you find is going to be, you know, $50 hanging around somewhere. And it may be that you just saved $50 on something, but that's found money. That's the universe saying, can you recognize that it's coming to you? Do you see it? Do you see it now? Or just in different places and in different ways than just necessarily showing up in your bank account, because it doesn't always happen the way that you think that it should happen. You've got to allow it to happen however it's going to happen, and to be willing to take the small steps to get to the bigger steps, and to say yes, as you were saying.
That's what they told me. It's in my yeses. It's in that they give me 3 times when they make a message to me. In fact, when I started chiropractic school years and years and years ago, I heard a voice that said, go to chiropractic school. And I did say yes. It worked out. I've always, heard that little voice inside. And when I say yes, things unfold in the most positive way. When I say no, in fact, I teach an intuition class. It's on my website. And when I tell everyone to track it. Track what happens when you say no in particular, because then you're going to be shocked, because they're giving you good advice. And then you blew it. You said no. And I can't even tell you how many times I said no. And it was a disaster for me when I didn't follow the yeses, or I didn't follow the instructions. And so that's what we need to do. We need to have gratitude for everything around us, and listen, start to pay attention, be quiet enough to hear. They drop crumbs. The crumb might be the answer to your question, might be on the name of a van that passes you by, like Miracle Maids. It was like, oh, I'm gonna have a miracle today. Expect a miracle, or change my thinking. It was angel cleaners. I was asking one day, I have 4 readings. I'd never done readings before like this. It was like, what am I going to do? And this truck goes by, angel maids. It's like, oh, okay, they're going to do the reading. I'll be okay.
Is that how you came up with Fluff Your Wings?
No, they taught me the first. So here we are in that angel loft I'm telling you about in North Hollywood. And I started to see my roommate's wings. And then I kind of started to see my own. And then they started to show me how people can integrate their higher frequency 5th dimensional self, which many of us are undercover angels. We like to do good. How we can integrate this and then not lose our power and presence as we walk around the world. Because being an angel is not quite fashionable, let's face it. But when you feel them in your body, and you can actually feel the presence of them near you, you walk in the world in a new power, in a new energy. In fact, I'm going to talk about that at Conscious Life Expo next month. But it is a very powerful thing. And then I learned that when I don't have my wings fluffed on a show or in my life, I become less than. Sometimes people don't feel my energy, or I don't radiate it. So I found that it helps me not to feel like a victimized healer, but empowered. That's how it happened. But all part of my training.
Do you train people one-on-one, or is it groups?
I do.
How do you?
Mostly I do one-on-ones, although I love doing groups. I do mostly one-on-ones. You can start with a soul essence session, or an oracle session, or spiritual advisor, or even wing fluffing. Not the wing fluffing is very specific, the wing fluffing, but any of the other sessions. And then if that's what you're looking for, hand holding, we go up to my cafe a lot, and we really start to go by stages. and it's stages of awakening, stages of stepping into who you really are. I don't tell you who you are, you become aware of it. And then suddenly the world changes for you, and we kind of gradually get to the next level.
So how long does this normally take, the process, when you work with people?
Well,
Recognizing everyone's
I've
different.
had some clients that I've worked with for several years. They had very unique and power. So I'm known as the visionary's visionary. Many people who come to me are visionaries. In fact, in my past lives, I was the consort to the gods. And that's who I am. And people come to me just because I can hold their secrets, and I can see it from above, from the point of view of the leader. So some people, it's a few months, some people, it's a few years. One woman came to me, one of my favorite people came to me, and she instinctively got the soul essence portrait, but she wasn't ready yet. Energetically, she was in a state of chaos at that time.
Mhm.
And so it took us several months until one day it was like, okay, now's the time. And the images start pouring through. Because I only want to do it when you're connected to your highest of self. When you're starting to radiate that, that's the only time it makes sense. So, and I still work with her because, oh my God, even today, the next level for her, because she's become like a creator God. She creates kind of universes energetically. So depending on what you're here to do, listen, we're on a lifetime journey. We're on a lifetime journey. Lifetime course corrections are necessary probably till the day we leave this body.
And you don't have to stay the same. You can start a new chapter in our books of life.
I traveled around the world, Jill, for the last year and a half, 18 months. It gave, and I would tell people, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. One day I'll know where I'm supposed to land. And until then, here's my suitcase and weird, it was very different. And I had to trust that I'd be told when I'd land. And that's the way it is for many people right now, because there's so much change happening. We're all being asked to adapt to everyone in my family, except my sister, is moving last month and this month. Very interesting. It's the times that are causing more energy right now. And you just have to learn who you are to stand your ground and gain more confidence in the messages you're receiving to live your life.
It's kind of like a seasonal change. In the spring, there's more storms. In the spring and the fall, you get big winds because storms and the climate's changing, and at least where I live.
Where do you live?
I live in Idaho.
Okay. So I can
Right by Richmond. I lived in Richmond, Utah for a while, and they did have crop circles there. There's a lot of UFO activity in this area.
Yes, because you're living under a UFO highway. Mm-hmm. So that is true.
I've actually seen them.
Oh, good. Me too. Oh, that's a whole other subject. We're going to have to do a show. When I start going back to doing interviews, you'd be fun to interview.
I would love that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they show up absolutely a lot, especially when you're open to it.
Yeah, there's a show that I saw part of. I forget what it's called, but it takes place in a ranch, Skywalker Ranch. That's what it was.
Skywalker Ranch. Yes, there's a lot happening. Skywalker Ranch. You don't want to actually show up there personally. That's where they've had a lot of cattle dismemberment and stuff. There's a weird lower vibration frequency there, but yes. Yeah, so you live there. So the thing about—
I didn't live there, but I saw the UFO that they talk about in their first episode that night. I remember distinctly seeing it. And when I saw the show, it's like, oh, I saw that one.
Yeah, I didn't mean you lived on that ranch. It was, you lived in that area.
I live in that area,
but you reminded me of something, but I think it doesn't matter. Skip my brain. But I think that we're meant to see things when we're meant to see things and remember them in our consciousness. And that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah, things show up, and sometimes they'll have a meaning immediately, and sometimes they won't. They'll just be like on the back burner for years, sometimes even decades, and then you'll remember them again, and you'll have a place for it in your current consciousness. I find very interesting.
I get it. It happens to me with books. I used to collect books when I had a home. And I had this one book by a guy, something Douglas, and it was all about Merlin. And I had collected 2 of these books, and I'd never read them because they just was, I had it. And I'm in England. This is like 10 years ago, and I'm in England, and I'm communicating this ancient tree, and I'm sitting there. It's like, and he's saying to me, well, when your job is to awaken the tree people, and I'm getting this download about the tree people. I never heard even that term. And then he said, well, your job is to awaken the tree people when you get home. I thought, well, that's interesting. And I go home, and I'm suddenly guided to open that book, those books. It's 2 books. And one of them was all about and it's all about awakening trees. I'm looking at it, I was like, oh my God. And I get to the last 3 pages, like, his summary. He says, if you're reading this book, you're one of the people who's here to wake up the tree people. My mind was blown, by the whole, first of all, that I'd gotten the guidance that I'm supposed to wake up tree people from the trees. I go home, it turns out I have the manual on how to wake up trees right there. And
yeah, it's so fun. Life is so fun when you interact with it on its various levels, instead of just like, this is the 3D world, and this is the world we have to live in. And I can remember when I first learned about sprites, I think they're called, that live in different things like trees and rocks and things in nature. And the weather, I think there's a weather sprite, because I was talking to it, and I wanted it to rain, and it did rain. Rained in a 5-foot radius around me, only around me, which was the weirdest thing to me. And I laughed, and it was really fast. It was like maybe a minute at the most, but there were definite drops. It was definitely raining. It was definitely only raining around me in like a 5-foot radius.
so what do you actually think? Right.
It was like, yeah, okay, I know you hear me. And at that same day, I was talking to this pear tree that I had, and it had blight, and the blight was really, I was worried that it was going to kill it. And I just told it I wanted it to heal and to cast off the blight, and it recovered. That's all I did to it, was just talk to it. And it, to this day, still produces tons of pears.
I love that. So have you read about using copper wiring for your plants and trees? Research it. Apparently they used to use copper and everything, but copper conducts this energy from the stars and from the sun, and plants and trees that are kind of wrapped up in this copper wiring are kind of like Finhorn. I mean, giant, really growing. It's as if magic has been, and they're the tastiest products that you can do. So experiment it. Look it up on the web. There are people talking about how you use the copper and why it works, but it seems to bring in the sun in a way that excites the plant in a healthy way.
Oh, that's really interesting. I will look that up. And I have fruit trees out back, so I'll try it this spring.
And you're an alchemist, therefore, yeah. Right?
Yeah. And I love trees. I have trees in my office even.
So I think the tree people will thank you. I see eyes in the trees. I see a lot of energies in the trees. Sometimes I see beings in the trees. And there are literally sometimes several beings in the tree. And that's always fun.
They, yeah, they are definitely living beings, and they have offspring, and they take care of their offspring,
Yes.
and they have little families. I have a family in my yard. I have this huge mother tree who's my neighbor. It, it it was shading my neighbor's garden, and I went out and I was talking to the tree about, please, can you move your branches so that his garden can get more sun this summer, the next summer coming up. And it did. His garden did really well this last summer, and I talked to it the summer before. And it's got all his baby trees growing in my yard. And when I first moved into this house, there were maybe one tree. And now I have over almost 100 trees, if you count all of the little baby trees that are popping up. And I don't ever mow the baby trees. I have strict mowing policies in my house.
Well, you're going to find that you're going to have a lot more trees if you start wrapping them or doing something with the copper. But trees are known to, like, if you're in the jungle and there's no room for the tree, the older trees actually know how much the younger baby tree needs of sunlight, and they will move enough that every baby tree gets just enough sun for them to grow. But if you notice in the forest, sometimes there's trees that grow sideways. These are like rebellious teenagers that don't trust they're going to get enough light. And so you'll find that so when you see trees going like this, and then they end up, a lot of them, dying early because they're trying to push the other trees out of the way. Trees set up a communication, I think, that could go around the globe. The root systems, actually.
Yeah. And they call water to them. Like,
yes. And some trees can walk. I have seen videos. If you look up walking trees on YouTube, you'll see these jungles, and suddenly you'll see this, whistling of the tree, the leaves, and you'll see it move to like 10 feet away. So there are trees that walk, and there's a story about the war of the trees, the war between the Celtics and the Druids in 400 AD, where the trees actually got up and they walked and they stood between the Druids and the Celts. And it was so, tight that the war parties had to go home the next day because they couldn't even see each other. So the trees have been known to have a positive, to be more like living people, tree people. We think they're stuck in the ground. Maybe that's just because that's how we were trained. I don't know.
yeah, it makes perfect sense that they could move. I mean, they have massive root systems, and there's so much to a tree that you don't see, just on the top part.
Yeah, I'd like to know what's on their mind. I'd like to feel into it, but you're right. They have tentacles all around the world. They love their babies. You see them all growing together or in a circle, or, and it breaks my heart. It breaks their heart when they lose a tree, by the way. It's not an easy process because they're family. We're the ones who have the block against understanding that we're all one on the planet. A tree is just as important as a bumblebee and, a mosquito or me. We're all equally important.
Yeah. I love the connectivity, and just thinking about it makes me happy. I like to sit in my yard in the summertime and watch. We have the mother tree, and her leaves shimmer. There's just a special magic to it that just makes me feel good.
She probably does it just for you. And
I think so.
think of the connectivity we have right now, that we're connecting, and through the podcast and through the show, little tentacles going out of positive vibrations to everyone who's hearing it. So in a way, we're like the tree people right here. We're creating this energy that's going to go out and soothe everyone's soul and nurture their spirit.
Yeah, that's so lovely.
Right from the heart.
Yeah. You have a guide that you give to people on your website. It's called the 5-minute guide to 5-minute guide. I can't read my own writing. I should have been a doctor. 5-minute guide to fulfilling your true calling in life. You want to talk about that for a sec?
So it is. So, I'm all about finding out who you are and why you're here. Mm-hmm. So the book kind of so that there's a series. You can get that free ebook. Then there's skip my mind, but it comes up in the email that you'll get, but how to live your purpose here on the planet. So I have a series because I think that's the most important, to start to remember that even if you don't know what your mission is, just beginning to be present about it is really important. And so I guide people that way. And most of my readings are about stepping into the power of who you are. So it's a great place to start. And that way you stay in touch with me, and I'll let you know when my new art storefront is up. I'm very excited about it. It's going to be a little professional website for me as an artist, as well as a cosmic activating artist. And I'm looking forward to engaging with all of you.
That is awesome. So what's the one thing you want to leave the audience with today, Joan?
I asked, I thought, well, why didn't you prepare that? It was like surrender. The way through it all is through surrender. We're really not in control. And remember, you're at the most perfect place at the most perfect time. You're doing exactly what you came here to do at this moment, and to be at peace about that. Ask to be shown the way, and they'll start to show you the way. And just like Jill is a paintbrush or a podcaster for this alchemy, you become a paintbrush in your own way for just doing the work you came here to do. Everyone has a mission, and we start very basic. So I think just to remind you, you're actually already on your path, especially if you're listening to this show.
I love that. Perfect way to end the show. Thank you so much for joining me, Joan. This has been amazing.
I've had a lot of fun, Jill, just so you know. It's a great show. You're doing a great service. And so, guys, you can find me at joanofangels.com. By the way, everything Joan of Angels. YouTube, Joan of Angels. Instagram, Joan of Angels. So that is my name for this life.
I love it.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order, or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.